Hey guys, Scripture here with another video, and I wanted to touch on this because this is something that I've addressed so many times on Twitter, and it has to do with this sort of tokenizing, whether it's women of color, whether it's just putting, race swapping, gender swapping, all of that stuff. I've always felt like if I was the actor, I would feel like I was being tokenized. Like this is kind of pathetic. Like, in other words, why don't you write a new film for me? Like if I was a black guy, right? And I was asked to play a character in Marvel, for example, that was a white character. I would say to those people who offered me the role, why don't you give me a role that a black person plays? Or write a new character that's a black person, right? It's the same way that, people don't want to talk about it, but the biggest race swapping has gone on with redheaded characters in Marvel and in all types of things. It's literally epidemic. Like, it's mind blowing actually when you really look at it, how many of them got changed. But if I was the actor that was offered the role for one of these swapped characters, I would say to them, well, why don't you write a character that's just black, that's not them? Why do I have to be a token of that character? Rather, because that character has a history, right? So, like, take, for example, April O'Neil. It was race swapped. April O'Neil has a history of being April O'Neil. So if somebody comes along and says, oh, let's make April O'Neil this, and I'm being offered I know in this case it's a speaking role, but I'm being offered the role, I'd say, well, why wouldn't you just write something else if you wanted a black person? Same thing with Velma, right? So the Velma writer was an Indian woman who was on The Office. I don't remember her name. She's quite funny in The Office, but she just changed Velma into an Indian woman. And if I was her, I'd be like, why don't I write something else instead of just swapping out what I look like for what this character's been looking like for 40 or 50 years, right? And I've always kind of thought about, like, from the actor's perspective, like, what's going through their mind when they're offered these roles, or they take these roles, or the writer or whatever, they switch things up like that. I'm always wondering in my mind, like, what are they thinking? Like, do they think this is a W to steal something else instead of just creating something new? So Jenna Ortega says women should have their own franchises. I don't want Jamie Bond. Okay, so Jenna Ortega is based. She weighed in on the trend of remaking iconic films with female leads. The Wednesday Star was doing an interview with MTV along with Catherine O'Hara, Beetlejuice stars. Josh Horowitz asked Ortega's thoughts on other potential sequels, like she would be interested in starring in a sequel to another one of director Tim Burton's classics, Edward Scissorhands, which could hypothetically be called Edith Scissorhands with Ortega in the... Why? Why? Why would you do that? Just do something else. Just write a different story. You wrote Edward Scissorhands. He came out of nowhere. Write something else that comes out of nowhere and make her in it. It's so pathetic. While it's lazy too, really. It's lazy. And if I was the actor, I'd be like, this is just laziness. Like, you can't just write something new. You're just going to put me in there on something that's already been done. It's just lazy. And then it's lazy, and then they say it's progressive. Oh, we're making inroads by doing this. When really, honestly, I think they're just lazy and they can't write. Right? And then it's like the writer's strike. It's like, striking from what are you writing? You're just taking old stories and, like, redoing them with just a little bit of difference, little differences, like gender or something. Like, it's dumb. While Ortega and O'Hara initially found the idea funny, Ortega quickly added, I love that there's a lot of female leads nowadays. I think that's so special, but we should have our own. Exactly. I don't like it when it's like a spin-off. I don't want to see, like, Jamie Bond, I want to see another Exactly. This is normal thinking. I want to see a new female role that's written. It can be a like a James Bond. It could be a Secret Service person or something like that or whatever. But it needs to be a separate character. This is just normal thinking. And all the people that think that this is weird, you're actually supporting pretty much, discrimination in a way, right? Because number one, you're replacing a man with a woman in the character, but then you're also tokenizing the woman because you're saying that, oh, we're not going to write anything new for you. We're just going to put you in this other thing that was already written because we're too lazy to do that. That's really, to me, real discrimination. Like, that's ridiculous. The comment comes amid another press interview getting some attention, which also brought up the idea of rethinking James Bond. At the Venice International Film Festival on Tuesday, Daniel Craig appeared with filmmaker Luca Guadagnino in support of their film Queer, where Craig has X scenes with co-star Omar Apollo. Okay. Craig, whose version of Bond was killed off in 2001's No Time to Die, was asked if queer meant that Bond might identify as LGBTQ someday, and then Guadagnino shut down the question. Guys, let's be adults in the room for a second. The idea of shaking up, not just stirring, the straight, white, and often chauvinistic James Bond has been a topic of debate for years. Chauvinistic. Oh my god. What used to be charm and seduction, male seduction to a woman, is now chauvinistic. The franchise's longtime producer Barbara Broccoli previously expressed a view that echoes Ortega's take, telling the Hollywood Reporter in 2021, I think the next James Bond will be a man because I don't think a woman should play James Bond. I believe in making characters for women, not just having women play men's roles. Exactly. I don't think there's enough great roles for women, and it's very important for me to make movies, for women about women. He should be British, so British can be any ethnicity or race. So you're okay with the race swapping, but not the woman swapping. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know why that would be okay either. Because again, you're just tokenizing the black guy instead of writing a new character for him. It's so stupid. There have certainly been popular films that have offered a female James Bond-like character since 2007's well-regarded action film Atomic Blonde, starring Charlize Theron. Salt, starring Black Widow. Yes. Also, while not a film's main character, Rebecca Ferguson was widely considered outstanding in her fan-favorite role as ex-MI6 intelligence agent Ilsa Faust in Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and its several sequels. Yeah, like, I don't understand this making up a cause. Like, people have nothing better to do than just making up a cause. There's obviously lots of female action stars. I mean, we didn't even talk about Tomb Raider or anything like that. Like, this whole idea that it doesn't exist. We have to insert it in because it's just bigoted. Everything's a bigoted. It's so pathetic. And again, I think it honestly is just because they're lazy, right? It's like, I want to show people that I'm an ally and that I care about this group of people. But I'm really too lazy to really do any work, so I'm just going to insert them into somebody else's writing and somebody else's franchise and somebody else's project. Because really, I don't really care about them. I just want to make it seem like I do. And that's a good way to do that because the media will get behind me and tell me how great that is. So that way I don't really have to do any work. And I like not doing work. I like just doing stuff and making myself look good without doing any work. That's basically what it is. And I don't know how people don't see it any other way. That's literally what it is. It's just a bunch of lazy people that want to pretend that they care about other people that they don't actually care about. They just want to look like they do. And that's ultimately the bottom line. But thankfully, Jenna Ortega is not an idiot and sees right through it and sees it for what it is, which is stupidity and laziness. And of course, she's not going to go that far, but for sure that's what she's thinking. I can guarantee it. Anyways, guys, if you like this content, please like, subscribe. It always helps the channel. And leave a comment for me as well if you can. And check out anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.